And we're live.
Great.
Yeah, Andy and Jacob. Andy from Austin, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Jacob
Yep.
from Cincinnati. I was actually just in Cincinnati, end of August. Great
Nice.
city. It was my first time.
Did you try the Cincinnati chili?
Oh, don't remind me the name of it. Skyline.
Yeah, that's the
Yes,
one.
I did try Skyline. I liked it, actually.
Yeah, all right. Woo.
Yeah.
Win.
I gave it like a 7.3 out of 10. So like a pretty solid score. Like
That's
definitely not
respectable.
something you can eat. Definitely not something you should or can eat every day. But no, it was an experience, and I did like it. I did like it.
Good. It's good to hear.
And I also went to the Cincinnati Reds baseball field too.
Nice.
I'm a Cubs fan, and so I saw them play there. But yeah, great city. Never been to Austin though, and I've been told.
You should come.
Yeah, I've been told that. Yeah.
Just don't come in like July or August.
Yeah, I've been told that as well.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Where are you, Justin?
Chicago.
Okay, nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Love
So
Chicago.
Yeah. Born and raised. I just went to school in Minnesota, but I came straight back afterwards and haven't left since. So it's my hometown. But yeah, guys, thanks for being a little flexible at the time. Thanks for joining. So yeah, this is the Fixture Focus show, where before every match that West Ham are about to play, I try to get ideally North American based fans of the club that we're about to play. West Ham Fan TV over in England, they do a lot of the opposition match reviews or previews with English-based folks, and so yeah, I like to keep it more North American. Plus, it's really hey, Gabe's on the chat actually. Well, Gabe is from Austin. I forgot about that. Gabe is one of our listeners. He's nearly in every live chat. So says fellow Austinite, good to see you. Too bad he's an Everton fan. Starting off the trash talk early. But yeah, like I was saying, I really like talking to North American based fans. And I love talking to the English people who are based here, and we've had a couple of those guests too.
Sure.
It's always interesting to see how they came over here and how they've been able to keep up with their club. But I'm also very interested to talk to people actually from North America, Americans and Canadians. And because it's always interesting to hear how you guys became a fan of a club that you really don't have. It's not like your hometown team, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I always like to start off with that. So Jacob, we'll start with you. How did you become an Everton fan?
Well, it was after the 2014 World Cup. I was like, wow, that was really awesome. Obviously, back then the United States was still good at soccer.
Yeah, they made the knockout stages, I believe, like the round.
Yeah, they played Belgium, and it was excellent. Tim Howard had a really awesome 14 save match or something, and they still lost 2-1 in extra time.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, that was really cool. I'd like to start watching. And I trained martial arts, and my coach, he's a Manchester United fan. And I told him, I'm like, hey, I'd like to get into the Premier League. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. He's like, okay, so here's what you're going to do. The Premier League season starts in a couple weeks. You should watch for a couple weeks, watch as many matches as you can, do some research online. And when you pick a team, that's going to be your team for good. And I'm like, that sounds pretty cool to me. So I started watching. And the very first match I ever watched was actually Leicester City against Everton. It was fun, and I was watching for a while, and it came down to two teams, and it came down to Arsenal, and it came down to Everton, and I'm like, there's nothing really drawing me to Arsenal right now, so I'm going to be an Everton fan. And ever since that day, weekends have been dominated by Everton in every single way. Saturdays are get up, go to the pub, watch Everton, and go about your business. And then Sundays are about reflecting on the match and all about that. And sometimes it's really, really good. And times like right now, it's, not so good. But
yeah, You don't have to.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Jacob, do you go to
That's why I'm drinking
pub to
whiskey.
watch games? Nice. Do you go to a pub usually to watch games?
Yeah, hold on, my alarm's going on. Sorry. We meet at Dana Gardens. It's in Cincinnati, obviously, and there's a good 5 to 8 of us that are like really good core people who show up week in, week out.
Cool.
And sometimes, for the Merseyside Derby, we usually have 20 to 25 people packed into the pub. So
Nice.
it's a really big group. In fact, I think it's actually the biggest supporter group in Cincinnati, which is pretty awesome. So
That's impressive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Andy, what about you? How did you become an Everton fan?
I have a similar story to Jacob, actually, and I just want to say one thing in response to Gabe, and that I feel like it's probably too bad right now that I'm an Everton fan too. So I feel the same way. But no,
Gabe is a West Ham fan.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying I'm agreeing with him. It's too bad. I feel like it's too bad right now that I'm an Everton fan.
Yeah.
Given the recent form. But no, similar story to Jacob. I actually had a lot of some friends that I started hanging out with more that I would play FIFA with, and they had a fantasy Premier League, and they were like, "You should get in on this Premier League." This was like I guess like 2012 or something like that, going into the 2013-14 season, maybe. And so we were playing a lot, and like they were like, "You should get in this Premier League, this fantasy Premier League." And I was like, all right. I was like, I don't really know. I only followed international soccer most of my life. I never really followed like club soccer. And so my thinking was like, I'll just watch the games and not really gonna like try to pick a team. But I had like my criteria. I was sort of looking for like certain things in a team.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted somebody who had an American on the team, which was Tim Howard at the time, and
right.
They had a history of Americans with Joe Max Moore and Landon Donovan being on loan there a couple times. I wanted a team that had history and a team that probably wasn't going to get relegated, but that wasn't probably going to be a top 4 team. I didn't want to be like a bandwagon jumper,
Right.
I wanted a team that was like fun to watch, and at the time under Martinez, they were a lot of fun, especially in that his first season.
Yeah.
And I think I just like the kind of like and I would guess probably West Ham fans maybe feel the same. I like the kind of like working class feel of like Everton, and I've always loved Liverpool, and I like blue, so that doesn't hurt. So yeah, I think all those things just kind of like I found myself watching a lot of Everton matches and trying to watch like to follow for the fantasy Premier League. And I just kept finding myself drawn to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was about probably halfway through the season, I found I was just like, I think this is it. And I bought like I bought a kit, and I was like, never turned back at that point.
Nice. Do you also where do you watch the games? Do you go to a pub as well?
Yeah, we have a place that we go to called the Haymaker. It's kind of unfortunate that it's not just an Everton like bar. It's also a Chelsea bar, and it's also like City goes there. So it's like, especially on certain days, certain games, it can get rough. I will say there was a game a few seasons ago when Stephen Naismith had like a hat trick against Chelsea, and that day was magical.
I love that, Matt. That's one of my favorite matches. That Stephen Naismith hat trick matches. That's a top one for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's always interesting, like, because in Chicago, like there are like four main bars, and like our bar has City too. It used to have the Chelsea fans, but they didn't really get along with anyone. So they now.
It's like how it is here.
Yeah. I hate Chelsea. but like the City supporters here actually,
they're fine.
Actually, they're some of the more tolerable ones.
Yeah.
Liverpool, we're massive Liverpool bar, massive, and the core Liverpool guys that were there even when they were finishing in 8th place just a few seasons ago, like they're good dudes. But as you start winning Champions Leagues, you get your You get your bros coming in,
Nope.
and but actually, the owner of our bar, AJ Hudson's in Chicago, is actually from Liverpool, born and bred Everton fan. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, so Everton they don't have the numbers that Liverpool pulls. Just, I mean, that's to be expected, but some good Everton fans in the bar as well. Moving on to Everton and actually your club. So before we dive into the season, I wanted to actually ask about leading up to the season. There were a lot of things. So I know remind me of your owner's name again, or your new chairman that came in a couple. Mashiri, correct. So I know that he's thrown in some cash. You guys have definitely gotten a lot more investment. I'm not sure of the numbers, but I know it's more.
It's a lot.
With that comes a lot of expectations. I also know that I don't know if it's confirmed. Maybe it is. You guys are going to get a new stadium in a few years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that confirmed?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're working on it really hard. They just did an unveiling video. What do you think, Andy? Like 2 months ago now, maybe a month and a half ago?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think there's still like some sort of I think there's one last kind of city hurdle that they have to go through. Like this city has to approve the final kind of plans or something. So I think it's kind of in that process. And as you know, even though it's a different country, I think government works pretty slow.
Right.
Everywhere.
So given all that, though, the expectations coming into the season must have been sky high for you guys. No, like what were each of your thoughts of, here, these are my expectations for Everton in this upcoming campaign?
Andy, I'll let you take this one first.
Okay. So I think definitely expectations were higher. We ended last season pretty well. We didn't lose a lot, and it seemed like we gained a lot in areas where we had needs. But the two things that kind of like that stood out that I think have become more clear is like we really only have like I think two viable starting center backs. If either one of those guys gets hurt, like we're already in trouble. So like,
right.
But I think we're in even more trouble.
Who are those guys, Andy?
So Yuri Mina and Michael Keane are really our only two center. I mean, we have Mason Holgate, but I feel like he's sort of never proven to be consistent in his performances, and and I don't like. I think Gabaman, who we signed, was supposed to be able to play center back, but he's now going to go undergo surgery. I just read, so we're not going to get him back until January. So that's kind of and that actually leads to the second loss that we had, which was Ghana. Idrissa Gueye leaving. And those were two, which we I think we tried to fill the gap, even though Silva has said like Gabaman is not, and Delph or neither one are supposed to be like, a like for like signing to replace Ghana. But I think Gabaman was supposed to be closer to that. But anyway, ultimately, I felt pretty good about the rest of the signings. I was a little nervous about the center back and losing Ghana, but I still felt like we're going to improve on last year. So I would have said I would have thought we would be. I thought it was like I was hopeful that we could finish top 6. Like I thought that was realistic.
Jacob, similar for you?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't think I was as concerned with the center back issue as everybody else. And I still think I'm really not that concerned about it. Michael Keane and Yuri Mina have played great. And if they do get hurt, I'm confident that Lewis Gibson, who is a young stalwart, up and coming guy, center back for the under 23 teams, he's He's really good. He played in the preseason. I watched him play, and he looks confident. He doesn't look like he's scared. He looks like he could step in, and I don't think he's gonna perform at the level that Yuri Mina and Michael Keane are gonna perform at, but he's not gonna be a liability back there either. Mm-hmm. And I feel the same way about Mason Holgate. He's better suited to be a right back, quite frankly. He's not as good as the right back who's going to replace Seamus Coleman, in my opinion, which is going to be John Joe Kenny, who is currently on loan in the Bundesliga for Schalke, and he's up for the Rookie of the Month again, and he won it in August. So, but I wouldn't be too concerned if our center backs became, Lewis Gibson and Mason Holgate. That doesn't scare me as much as everybody else. I mean, they've got way more pace than Yuri Mina and Michael Keane, and I think they're good enough defensively that it wouldn't be an issue. Now, what would become an issue after that would be the depth, because after those guys, who knows? You got maybe Morgan Feeney, who is another under 23 guy who could step in, but, you don't really want to get into those, muddy waters because you never know what you could get. So I wasn't too concerned about that. I was more concerned about replacing Idrissa Gana Gueye. That man has been...
He went to PSG, right?
Yeah, he went to PSG. So that was a really good bit of business for Everton. I don't blame them for selling him. We bought him from Aston Villa when they got relegated for around
£7 million or something.
£7 million, and then sold him at 30 years old for like 30. So the return on investment there is insane. Yeah. But the problem is he's been an under the radar anchor for our squad for the entire time that he's been here. And replacing him has proven to be very difficult. Obviously, Gabaman has been hurt pretty much the entire time he's been here. Fabian Delph has struggled with injuries. He's had up and down performances. Obviously, Morgan Schneiderlin's not going to be good enough to do that.
He's a different kind of player, I think, anyway.
Yeah. Andre Gomes has been hurt. He's probably the closest thing we have to a replacement to Ghana, and he was already on the squad, but he can't even do what Ghana did. He's not good enough at intercepting passes and challenging attackers. He's not good enough at tackling. His tackling is a bit sloppy, in my opinion. But that was the main concern for me. Now, after we signed the wonder kid Moise Kean from Juventus, I was like, okay, awesome. Our goal problems are solved. We've got finally got our Lukaku.
So we thought.
Yeah, and we haven't hardly seen him. He's made a couple cameo appearances. I think he's made 1 or 2 starts at the most, and I think he's looked really good. He hasn't scored any yet, but like he's clearly got the goods in a way. I think once he gets acclimated to the Premier League, he'll start putting in goals left and right. But the
maybe
midfield,
on Saturday.
Yeah, maybe on Saturday he'll open his account. But the midfield is where it's a problem. But coming into the season, I honestly thought with all the shakeups and the supposed top 6 clubs, it was gonna be a good opportunity to crack into that top 6, especially with the finish that we had last year, which was outstanding. But it's been, and it still could happen.
Season's young.
I think I saw we're like 7 place behind Palace, who's at 6, and we're in 18th. So, crazier things have happened.
Yeah, so it seems like both of you guys had similar expectations to a lot of West Ham fans, which was to push for a European spot. Gabe had a question, Andy, for you. How many Everton guys do you usually get in the pub?
So it's probably about the same as Jacob. There's I think there's, no matter what match it is, no matter what time, there's probably a good 8 or so, maybe 10 folks on a regular basis. And then for bigger matches, for especially when we're doing well, or a Merseyside derby, there'll be 40 or 50 people.
Wow.
Nice.
But that's probably only Merseyside derby matches. But at the beginning of the season, a lot of times we'll have a good 25 or 30 show up, regardless of whoever we're playing, whichever newly promoted team that we have to take on. It
Nice.
seems to be the case. Not this year, but most every other season that's the case.
Okay, cool. So one new thing I'm doing in these shows is that scattered throughout the show, I'm doing a few different like tidbits or stats for the club that we're about to play, as well as a few head-to-head stats. So before we dive into your guys' thoughts on the season so far and what's gone wrong for you guys, just a few things that you may or may not already know. So Everton, if they lose to West Ham this weekend, would lose 5 consecutive league fixtures. That would happen for the first time since October 2005, where they lost a club top flight record of 6 straight losses.
Oh.
It would be literally 14 years since you guys have had this poor of a run of form if you guys lose to West Ham. Also, if you guys lose to West Ham, it would be your 3rd straight home defeat, which would match your Premier League record of 3 consecutive home defeats.
Sounds like we're gonna win.
Well,
sounds like we're gonna win.
If you haven't scored goals, if you haven't gotten points, West Ham,
I know, yeah.
And then the third,
I don't know where the goals are gonna come from.
We'll see. Hopefully nowhere. But you guys have also, since the start of last season, and this stat may not surprise you, I'm not sure, Everton have actually conceded the most set-piece goals since the start of last season. 22.
Yeah.
That's not surprising at all.
Yeah. A few West Ham stats. So West Ham are unbeaten in their last 6 away league games, 3 wins and 3 draws, and their Premier League record is 7. So if we draw or beat you guys, that would match our record for our best away run. We've outscored our opponents by 11 goals and 11-5 so by 6 goals in those 6 away fixtures. And the Hammers have 12 points after 8 matches, and they did not pass 12 points until their 14th fixture of last season and their 16th match of the season before. So West Ham definitely on the up, Everton on the down. Let's talk about that down a little bit. You guys have expressed your expectations that you had before the season. They've obviously not been matched. What has gone wrong?
Everything?
Yeah, where to begin, right?
So injuries have been a major factor. Like I said.
I think you froze.
Oh man.
Yeah, injuries have definitely been a factor. I would agree with that completely. I'll just keep talking until Jacob maybe comes back.
Yeah, sure. We'll just keep his face.
And I'll let him. Let him jump back in if and when he does. What's gone wrong? We've really missed an opportunity with having such an easy sort of set of fixtures. I shouldn't say easy because we didn't win them, most of them. But what should have been much more winnable set of matches, unlike a couple of years ago, Koeman's last season when we played like the first 6 games were like, I think we had first 5 out of 6 games were top 16s or something. So we really missed an opportunity there. We've had some injuries. I think it's been real clear that we have the problems that we thought we had solved. And I think you alluded to it, Justin, about our set piece goals that we give up. Mm-hmm. We had that was a real big problem at the beginning of last season for quite some time. And then I think around February, there was like a break that we had for about 17 days. And they spent a lot of time, and that was actually kind of when we turned around our season and started winning matches, started not giving up goals. Jacob, take from there. You were talking about injuries.
Yeah, sorry. The internet totally just crashed for a couple minutes. Anyway, yeah, so the midfield got decimated by injuries. You know, the very first match, what was it? Andre Gomes, he was starting. That's right.
Yeah.
We were playing at Crystal Palace, and Andre Gomes had to go off with injury. At the time, Fabian Delph was injured from the preseason, so we were like, that's not good. So Gabadman had to come on, and he looked terrible, obviously, because he had like 2 training sessions or something. So injuries to the midfield have been a big issue. That's a really big reason why they're struggling right now. But on top of that, their finishing in front of the goal is awful. So for you guys, Haller has 4 goals in 7 matches, and Everton have scored 5 goals in 7 matches total. So, I mean, that's massive. It's been a really, really big problem. And you know, on top of that, they're just not creating enough chances. They have a tendency to just kind of play the ball out to the wing and then put a cross into the middle with maybe one person.
Sick of it.
Yeah, maybe
So
one
sick
person
of it.
standing there. If not, there's nobody standing there, and Lucas Dean is just throwing his hands up in the air like there's nothing I can do about it. It just needs to be more inventive. It needs to be more creative, and people need to get healthy. I think once Gamavin comes back and he's healthy, and Gomes is all the way healthy, he's coming back from injury this weekend, and you have Fabian Delph available and he's not hurt, I think that helps a lot. We're not going to get to see that for another 3 months, so hopefully they can stick it out till then. But there's been a lot of issues, and it's for me, it's mostly in the attack. They need to create better chances, and when they create those chances, they need to be finishing those chances.
I mean, has there been a player that has played well in your opinion and has played
consistently?
Yeah. No.
You don't think so, Andy? No one?
I mean, consistently this whole season. I mean, Mina and Keane have both looked decent, but we've also given up like 13 goals or something. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say anybody's played well when you're in 18th and losing games to teams that I feel like we should be beating or at least drawing with. So
it's interesting.
What do you think, Jacob? Is there anybody? Sorry, go ahead, Justin.
Oh no, go ahead, Jacob. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I've had a couple players. I think Lucas Dean, maybe not defensively, has been up to his standard that he was last year, but offensively, he's still creating a ton of chances. He's still really good on the ball. In that Wolves game, he had one of the most ridiculous assists I've ever seen when he played that ball from beyond, almost in his own penalty box. He made a perfect play up to Bernard in the attacking half, and it was right at his feet, and Bernard was able to run onto it and score, and it was insane. Obviously, he had that free kick in the cup match that was out of this world. It's like 25 yards away, and he put it in the top corner, bending it outside back in, which was insane to watch. I think Lucas Dean has been good. I think he's gotten a lot of criticism, and some of that has been fair, obviously. I also think, from what we've seen, I think Moise Kean has been excellent. He shows that he's really dangerous. There's been a couple excellent saves made on shots from him. I can't remember what game that was that he came in and I think he hit the woodwork twice. Do you remember which game that was?
I think it was maybe Wolves.
Yeah, but he came in and he hit the woodwork twice, and every time he comes in, he just comes at it with ferocity, and he's not afraid to go at defenders. I mean, at one point he got called for a foul when he got pulled down by 2 defenders trying to hold him back, which was weird. But I think Moise Kean has been a bright spot, and so is Lucas Dean. And but other than that, no. Alex Iwobi has shown flashes. Bernard has shown flashes, but nobody's been consistent.
Maybe not all, but several people have shown flashes or had good games. But I guess that was the thing that I felt like I would say Luka Dean. I feel like has had has played well, but he's also been at least in a couple of games probably at fault for some of the goals, which we hadn't seen last season. So I guess just because maybe I have hold him to a higher expectation. I guess I'm sort of disappointed with everyone across the board.
That makes sense. That makes sense, Andy. Like as you improve your performance, you're held to a higher standard, and that's just the nature of sports. And it sounds like you guys have had some flashes of brilliance. I know you guys started the season fairly well, especially defensively, but it sounds like no one has performed consistently.
Justin, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
who has been poor for you guys, and who has has there been like, anybody who's been like really poor that you guys have noticed off from the get-go?
Yeah, who can we go at?
Yeah, so I'm out of our main starters. They're starting for a reason. There hasn't been any player that has been poor. There have certainly been players that have not. So, perfect example, unparalleled to your Luca Dean, I don't know how to say it correctly.
Look, his name's hard to pronounce. We've struggled.
You said he's shown flashes of brilliance, right? He's been good, but maybe not to the expectation that you hold him to. Felipe Anderson for me has been good. He's a good player. He's talented. There's no two ways about it. But I'm still waiting for him to make that next step as a Premier League player. He showed there was a 2 or 3 month period last year where he had like 7 goals in 5 games, and like 2 assists, but he only ended up with 10 goals total. So that just shows you it comes in bunches and needs to be a little more consistent. But in terms of being poor, I don't see anyone that I can really pinpoint and say that guy has been really, really poor. I'm just talking about our starting 11 and the couple fringe players around it. There's been some other poor players, but they're on the bench, and hopefully we don't see them again. In terms of people that have been really good, so I think even though he didn't have a great game versus Palace, which was our last game, Manuel Lanzini, in my opinion, has been our most influential player. When he's off the pitch compared to when he's on, there's a massive difference. Like I said, didn't have a good game versus Palace, or an okay game, but in my opinion, he's been great. Sebastian Haller has been excellent. I think he fits perfectly in the Premier League and also in our style of play. He holds the ball up. You'll see that he holds the ball up tremendously well.
I've watched him. Yeah, I've watched him in a couple of your matches, and he's a freak, man. He's an excellent.
He is a freak. He's a physical freak too. He's 6'3", 210, a big man. He's built for the physicality of the Premier League. Just also a very smart player, selfless player, makes the easy pass, doesn't try to do too much. And 4 goals in 7 league matches. It's a good return right there. And defensively, I think we've been really solid. We've given up 11 goals total, but 5 of those came from Manchester City in the first match of the season. So we've given up 6 goals in the last so how many games we played? We played 8. So 6 goals in the last 7 matches. And actually 4 of those 6 goals have come in the last 2 games. So we had 3 straight clean sheets. We're playing really well defensively. That's been a huge improvement under Pellegrini. So I would say the defense, especially Aaron Cresswell and Issa Diop, who's our left back and one of our center backs respectively, and then Lanzini and Haller. Also, I have to mention Yarmolenko, who scored against you guys at Goodison last year, I believe.
It was a break.
He killed us.
He scored 2, yeah. He did. He's been absolutely superb for us, and he's continuing his good form on international duty. He scored for Ukraine and helped them clinch a European championship spot. So he's been great on the right side of the field. He's a right winger. So I would say those are the guys that you guys would have to watch out for. Lanzini anchoring that attack, Yarmolenko with that left foot, one of the best left foots in the game, and then our defense has been solid. But it's very interesting in your answers around what's gone wrong for Everton. Neither of you have mentioned a person's name that I thought you would mention.
Let me guess. His name starts with an M and his last name starts with an S.
You're correct. Mr. Silva. Thoughts on Mr. Silva?
So I've gone back and forth on this a lot, and I think I've taken this international break in particular where they had a meeting with Marco Silva the first Monday after his loss to Burnley, And basically they gave him 3 matches to turn it around. That's what he's been given.
Yeah, I read that
Here's
too.
my thing. If you wanted to give him time to turn it around, 3 matches is not exactly enough time. If you wanted to get rid of him, doing that on Monday after the Burnley loss would have been the time to do it. Going into an international break, you would have had a week to find somebody, plus another week before the match starts. So, quite frankly, what they're doing doesn't really resonate with me. It doesn't really make any sense. The thought process doesn't really seem to be all that thought out in a way. But that also tells me that I think they're ready to move on, and I'm not even sure if they're going to give him that 3 matches. I think that's just kind of a talk to him like, hey, you're really on a hot seat here. And if things go poorly, 1-2 matches, you're going to be out of here. And, they said, oh, we don't have a list of replacements for him. And I think that's a load of BS. I think especially with their new director of football, Marcel Brands, I think he's definitely on top of this, and he's definitely scouting out coaches and managers. But me personally, I don't want him to be fired. And I've thought about this for a week, and I've gone back and forth, and I was on the American Toffees podcast, and I said I wanted him out. I have said that we need to be patient as a fan base and let him try to work through this difficult time. I mean, he's dealing with like we said, a lot of injuries in the midfield, new players in attack who have to gel together. He's working with a very thin back line. He's got a Seamus Coleman who's obviously aging and losing a step. And
he's also on a red card, so he can't even play.
Red card. He got red carded in the league match against Burnley, and then got another red card for Ireland. So I made on Twitter, I was like, he must have some kind of holiday planned out right now because he doesn't want to play.
I read that Jibril Sidibe, I think, if you pronounce his name right.
Yeah,
he's
Jibril Sidibe.
Monaco.
He's on loan from Monaco with an option to buy. I've heard rumors that
West Ham were looking at him.
Yeah, I've heard rumors that Everton aren't impressed with him in training, and that there's a chance that they might terminate the loan. And AC Milan is apparently interested in buying him permanently. So I think there is an outside chance that we could see Mason Holgate playing right back this weekend, but it's just an outside chance. I think that's more speculation by papers more than anything else.
Yeah,
gotcha. Go ahead, Jacob.
He's been really good in both cup matches he's played in. And in the second one, he had a ridiculous assist. He was on the right side and played a perfect ball just to the foot of the attacker. I think it was Calvert-Lewin for his first goal. So I expect to see Sidibe. But no, I think Marco Silva needs to stay. I think he's earned some patience, and I think that we need to give it to him, even though this is really hard right now. We've lost 4 league matches in a row, and that's not going to make anyone happy. Andy?
Yeah, I think I agree. I see why people are are saying this. I see why people are wondering, questioning, but we've had so much turnover with managers in the last few years, and it's not really served us very well. And I just don't think that, I don't know. From everything that has been said prior to this, I'm under the understanding that like they're going to give him time. Like unless it's January and we're still in the bottom 3. I don't think he's going anywhere this season. I mean, granted, I do think that he is definitely under pressure. I don't think that it's like, cool, we'll give you next season too.
Right. Right.
But I don't know. I also don't want to see that happen, just because I don't want to see. It seems like there's so much time trying to get like players that a manager wants, and we've had so many bad contracts that that Marcel Brands has had to try to offload.
Yeah, we're still trying to get rid of dead wood right now. I mean, we've got a ton of guys on our squad that are just eating cash. Like Cenk Tosin is making a killing just riding the bench right now.
And he's like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
You know how much money I'm making?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes or no question.
Yeah.
If West Ham beat Everton, I guess it's a two-part question. Do you think he will be fired? Yes or no? And would you fire him? Yes or no? If West Ham
No and no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm kind of with him, no and no. But then again, it comes with an asterisk though, because if they lose and they're in the game and they're scoring goals, and like let's say it's like a goal fest and West Ham win like 3-2 or something like that, but Everton are showing that they're playing really well and that they're showing some fight, but on the other side of the coin, if they get like blown out, let's say they lose 5-0 at home to West Ham, that's massive, and that adds on to it, especially with that being your 5th loss in a row. You're already in relegation zone and you don't score. I mean, that's not good, especially if he continues to run out like the same formation with the same players this weekend too. So for me, it's a no and a no, but the other no is with an
caveat.
Yeah.
And I would say, I think Jacob brings up a good point, which is that, and I'd add to that, and if I think more importantly, not even so much the score line, but if you can see in the players that they're not giving a lot of effort. If Morgan Schneiderlin goes back to the Schneiderlin from the Europa League, where he was just like, I'm just gonna like make this like blatant red card tackle and don't even care, or like what Kevin Morales might have done in the past. If you see that kind of behavior, that might be a sign that like he's lost the locker room, and
gotcha.
And maybe there's more to talk about at that point. But
Justin, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
This is your second year under Pellegrini, correct? Or is this the first?
No, this is the second. I was thinking it was second or third. It's the second.
Okay, so you guys have now this is your second year. Have you noticed him kind of changing the culture of West Ham? Because who was it? It was before. Who was before this?
Your boy, David Moyes.
Oh, yeah, it was David Moyes. That's right.
For a half season, yeah.
Yeah, because you guys had another former Everton player.
Yeah, it was Slaven Bilic. He was around for 2.5 years, got the sack. Moyes came in from November on, saved, kept us up. And then Pellegrini was hired pretty much like a few weeks after we said goodbye to Moyes, because it was only a 6-month contract.
Right. So have you guys noticed that he's kind of changed the culture a little bit compared to a David Moyes, who was just kind of there to keep West Ham afloat?
Night and day. So I think the story is a bit more complex than simply Pellegrini. So I think there's two aspects. There's off the field and on the field. So while Moyes was managing, and I actually went to this game at the London Stadium, we lost to Burnley 3-0. Now, that season, you may remember, Burnley finished 7th, so they were a good side. But to lose 3-0, and there were 3 goals in about a 10 or 15-minute span in the second half. 3-0, it was at home, and we had a mob of fans across the stadium for me, like mobbing the director's box, throwing pennies at the owners, and there was a lot of just anger between the fans and the owners, mainly the fans towards the owners. A lot of it stemmed from the move from our spiritual home, the Bowling Ground, to the London Stadium. What we were promised at the London Stadium was not delivered, including a winning team. There seemed to be, our director of football was our owner, and he just was not a football man, not experienced with football. And I think that was the beginning. That mob scene was the beginning of a wake-up call that the owners were going to lose this team. They were going to lose the support of the fans completely if they did not start putting their money where their mouth was. Credit to David Sullivan and David Gold for hiring Pellegrini, a world-class manager. Credit to David Sullivan for stepping back and allowing an experienced director of football coming in, Mario Husilos. He worked with Pellegrini at Malaga, where they made the quarterfinals of the Champions League on a shoestring budget. They're boys, they know each other well. They're on the same page. They're building the same culture and identity. And the owners have just been like, we trust you, go for it. And ever since then, there's been a clear understanding of what type of player we need, how much we're willing to pay for him, and the money has been spent. We spent £95 million last summer. We spent a net spend of about £45 million this summer. So yes, and then on the field, Pellegrini's style is free-flowing, attacking, and he's bought the players to fit that culture and identity of the team. So yes, it hasn't just been Pellegrini. It's been a team effort. It's been the owners being willing to step back. It's been having a director of football, but also Pellegrini is a world-class manager. He's a Premier League winner. And and all of those are part of the mix that has really I think, given West Ham a chance to really start pushing for Europe in the years to come. Yeah. Speaking of West Ham, obviously we're playing this weekend. A few head-to-head stats that you guys may be interested in hearing. So, head-to-head. West Ham have claimed 2 victories in the past 3 league meetings between Everton and West Ham. That's as many victories as they had in their previous 22 attempts. You guys were.
It's there's a history there.
Yeah, 7 draws, 13 losses in the past 22 attempts, and then we got 2 victories in the last three league meetings. Everton have won 25 games and have scored 83 goals against West Ham in the Premier League history. Those are both Premier League club records for one opponent against another opponent in the history of the league, the Premier League. The Hammers have failed to score in 4 of the past 6 league fixtures. Obviously, those two that we did score in, we did beat you guys. So yeah, the Premier League series between Everton and West Ham has certainly favored you guys, but as of late, West Ham have we've gotten a couple wins against you guys, and of course, looking at form here, West Ham have been the better club and the better side. So let's start off looking at the game. How do you think Everton are going to set up? What do West Ham fans that are maybe not too familiar with Everton or haven't seen Everton too much this season, what do West Ham fans, and again, I know you guys have said no one's really been consistently performing well, but what do West Ham fans, or who should West Ham fans still look out for in this match?
I will just jump in and say this. I think we should, I don't know about you, Jacob, but I feel like we should give what we think it will be and then what we think it should be.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I'm totally down with that. You can go first. Let's hear it.
All right, I'll go first. I think we'll probably set up in another 4-2-3-1 like we keep doing. Even though Silver keeps talking about wanting to do 4-3-3 because of the injuries in the midfield that Jacob alluded to, it's not possible. Like we just can't do it. And I think we have the Sigurdsson problem too of like you can't leave this guy out, but where else are you going to play him? I read somewhere today that I thought was kind of interesting about playing him in a deeper midfield. I don't think we'll do it, but I think it would be kind of an interesting concept just to see him get more involved in the game because
right.
I don't know. So I think we play a 4-2-3-1. We go from left to right. Well, Pickford obviously in the back, but Dean, Keane, and
you don't want to
Mina.
start Russell?
Nah. Is he ever gonna play? Even in the cup match?
Honestly, I think they should be playing him in cup matches, but that's a discussion.
I agree.
Another time.
Yeah, or at least in the earlier ones, yeah. And then Cito Bay will play right back. We'll play Schneiderlin, unfortunately, in the midfield. Gomez and Sigurdsson, and then we'll play Iwobi on the left, Calvert-Lewin, and Richarlison on the right. That's what I think we'll play. I don't think that's what we should play. I wish it would be the case, but
Gotcha. Yeah, West Ham usually line up in a 4-3-3, but it usually turns into more of a 4-2-3-1, or maybe a 4-2-3-1. So you'll have your back four. Cresswell will probably start on the left, given that he's played well. You'll have Ogbonna and Diop as our center backs who have played really well, and you'll have Fredericks on the right hand side. And again, it'll say 4-3-3 with the three midfielders being Noble, Rice, and Lanzini, but it'll be more of Rice sort of sticking right in front of those back four, holding midfielder.
He'll be like a defensive mid. Right in front of the back four. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'll have Noble and Lanzini who will anchor back and forth. Lanzini usually going more attacking than Noble. And then you'll have the three up top. Allaire will be the striker, and then you'll have the two wingers. You'll have Felipe on the left and Yarmolenko on the right. The one thing that has really, I think, helped us a lot is we've had a starting lineup that's been pretty consistent in terms of, and also a playing style. I think that goes back to just a manager that's been around for over a year now, which in the Premier League can be a long time these days. And I think it's just always important. Like, I was talking with the Bournemouth supporters when we played them, and I was discussing my theory of why I think Bournemouth have been, they're an established Premier League side now, and you would think, looking at their infrastructure and the amount of money that they have, that they wouldn't be, but they're consistently they're never really, like, they're never going to go to Champions League, but they're never really going to, you're not really nervous that they're going to get relegated. I think a big part of that is they have Eddie Howe that's been there for years and years. He's established a culture. He's established an identity. You are signed by Bournemouth. You know exactly what your position is supposed to do. You know how they're supposed to do it, and you know what the rest of the guys around you are supposed to do. I watched the Everton-Sheffield United game this year.
That was a bad one to watch.
The thing that I noticed is I felt that, especially after Sheffield where it was up 1-0 and they were sort of, holding back or, parking the bus, it seemed like you guys just didn't really know what to do with there was just no plan. There was no leadership taking control over, this is what we're doing. I just felt like there was no plan B. It was sort of just try to pass it, and it actually eventually led to a second goal for the Blades. Have you guys also seen? You guys agree with that, or Andy, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Just to go at it real quick. Yeah, I think part of the problem, especially in that Sheffield game, is they didn't want to attack. They just didn't look like they wanted to attack. They came out. They were playing two defensive midfielders in Morgan Schneiderlin and Fabian Delph, and had nothing going for them in the midfield whatsoever. And they just, for whatever reason, looked scared to attack a newly promoted Sheffield United side that had one shot on goal all afternoon, and that was the second goal that they scored in the last 10 minutes of the match. Before that, I mean, they didn't even have a shot on goal when they were up 1-0. It was an own goal that came up from Yuri Mina. And so, why are you afraid to attack that side who has no ability to attack you whatsoever? You should be pushing at them with everything that you have. And I think that's been kind of a thing that's happened a lot with Everton this year, is you've just seen fear. They look scared. They don't look like they don't look like they're ready to attack anybody. I'm absolutely shocked that they put 3 goals in on Wolves. I mean, that's unbelievable. The fact that that's the only match that they won, especially when they went ahead and then Wolves tied it, and then they went ahead and then Wolves tied it. When they tied it the second time, I'm like, well, that's it. We're just gonna get a draw. And to see that they were able to go on and get a late winner on a ball that Richarlison out-fought a center back for, that was unbelievable. And at that point, I was like, all right, cool. They've turned it on. They're clicking. This is where we're going to start going forward, and we're going to start attacking teams. And we haven't seen that team since. And it's really frustrating. They need to be able to go at teams that, quite frankly, can't go at them. And we haven't seen that, and that's really annoying. I don't know about you, Andy, but that's pretty annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Sorry, I had switched off my AirPods because they died.
Yeah,
I'm just getting in charge. Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of been their problem for a while now, is teams sitting back and making it impossible for us to break down. And we it's like we run out of ideas, and it just becomes get it out to the wings and or overlap with the fullbacks crossing it in to, like, to Jacob's point, one person in the box, maybe,
or nobody,
or no one, or just
nobody standing in the box.
Defenders. And I think that's been the problem, and that's why I think the other thing that I think we're seeing a lot is, like, Silva doesn't know what his best side is, and I think he's tried actually formations or variations within the game to try to change things, but we end up with the same results, and it's kind of scary. I think the fact that we don't know what our best team is, and we're having to keep changing things, but at the same time, I think continuing to change things, it's like we're never gonna get any kind of consistency.
Right.
That's not his fault because of injuries, but
yeah,
some of it is.
Well, guys, we're approaching the hour mark, so we'll wind this down shortly. Of course, all of that talk that we just had about our respective clubs would be worthless if we didn't actually go ahead and make a prediction. So,
sure,
always guests first. Andy, we'll start with you. Prediction for Saturday's game.
So I'll just make this comment that last season West Ham came to Goodison without a win, I think, at that point, and we're desperate. Without a point even.
Yeah.
We're desperate to get a point. And Everton had started off the season pretty decent at that point.
Yeah.
And West Ham won that game 3-1. So Everton's pretty desperate for a win right now. And we tend to do better at home. And even though I have no idea where the goals are going to come from, I just feel like this maybe is a game where we, like last season, you remember this, Jacob, in February, we had that big break, that 17-day break. And that's when we turned around the season.
They clicked
and international break.
They killed it.
I wanted to make a reference to the whole set piece problem that we had before those, which was, I found out that I think it was João Pedro, the assistant that left to go back to manage a team in Portugal. I think he was the one who solved the set piece problem. Now he's gone. So we still have that problem, but hopefully we'll get it solved and we'll win the game 3-1.
3-1. All right.
All right, Jacob.
Okay, so I wrote my preview piece for Toffee Targets yesterday, and I threw it up today. And I think that this is going to end in a draw. I don't think it's going to be 0-0. I don't really see that happening. I don't see us keeping West Ham off the score sheet. And so my prediction precisely was that West Ham are going to have some kind of sloppy giveaway, and it's going to lead to a goal. I think Richarlison's going to get it on the score sheet. I think he's desperate for a goal. But then again, Everton's going to concede on either a corner or a set piece, and it's going to be Haller who puts it in the net. I don't really see us keeping him off the score sheet. It's either going to be him or Yarmolenko. One of those two are going to put in a goal against us. It's going to look better, though. But I think it's still going to be the same lineup, 4-2-3-1, same players, same substitutions. We'll see Moise Kean for about 20 minutes. He'll make some nice plays, but he won't score.
He's going to get his first goal.
Man, I hope so. But, yeah, give me 1-1 with West Ham scoring in like the last 10 minutes or so, and it's going to frustrate everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done, I think this is the 5th or 6th Fixture Focus show I've done, and all but one of the shows I've actually agreed with a guest on the score prediction. And it's going to continue. Jacob, I agree with you. I don't see West Ham going in there and beating Everton. I don't see Everton losing 5 matches in a row. I just that'd be so unlike West Ham to not give points to a team that's desperately searching for them. Yeah, and also that would mean that we win 2 straight matches in Goodison. It's just I don't see that happening. I would, like I said, very anti-West Ham. However, I just think Everton are in a bit of a crisis. Andy, I think you mentioned it. They're just the guys haven't found their best side yet, and that's dangerous 8 matches in. West Ham have found their best side. They have found their best side. They know who are their best players. We've been fairly consistent, but I don't see us getting a win. So if we don't win, Everton, and I don't see Everton beating us though, because I think we have a consistent side and we do have a sense of how we want to play, and our defense has been solid at the back. So if Everton don't win it, West Ham certainly don't win. All that's left is a draw. I certainly don't see a 0-0. I was gonna pick 2-2, but I think 1-1 is actually probably more likely to happen. So I'm gonna go 1-1 as well. I hope we're all wrong, guys. I hope we get West Ham, 4-5.
I hope I'm right. Actually, I'm really wrong. I hope we don't give up any goals.
Andy, real quick, who do you think's going to score?
I think Sigurdsson might finally get on the score sheet again. I really do think that if Silva doesn't bring Keane in the last 10 minutes of the game, I think Keane may actually get a chance to score. One thing that West Ham is almost as bad at as Everton is conceding goals. Other than that, I think you might be right. Maybe Richarlison might get another goal. Yep. And then actually, I've been curious about Pablo Fornals. Like, have you guys seen enough of him yet to make a judgment?
Yeah, I think we have, and it hasn't been good so far. I think he's definitely fallen short of expectations. That being said, it's really tough to as we all know, it's tough to acclimate to the Premier League. He's a guy that's slight of frame. There have been not several, but a few times where he's just taken too long on the ball and it's just been taken away from him. And he'll learn. He's still very, very young, 23. He won the under-21 European Championship with Spain. He had a phenomenal tournament. The talent's there. I think it's giving him playing time here and there, getting experience. And I think he's also very similar to Manuel Lanzini, I think. And so I think learning from Manu will help him as well. Hasn't really played that well so far, but season's still young. Yeah. Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on. We'll wrap this up. But yeah, again, thank you for the flexibility, of course. Thank you for coming on.
No problem.
Yeah, would love to do this for the reverse fixture as well. So I'll definitely be in touch. And hopefully I can talk some trash to you guys over Twitter after we do
I did have a quick question real quick. I'm seeing down in the chat, what is a Desmond? I'm seeing it can be what is a Desmond? You know what a Desmond is?
Matthew Howard.
Desmond.
I'm guessing that's like a draw.
I don't know, but Neil also said, what is a Desmond? I have no idea what a Desmond is.
Never heard of that before. That's a new one for me.
Given the context, I think it's a draw.
Yeah, I don't know. They capitalized it too. It looks like a last name, but well, I guess maybe we'll figure this out once we go.
Put us up on Twitter, guys. Tell us
name. All right, guys, stick around. I'm going to end the broadcast now, but just stick around and we'll chat.
Sure.
Thanks again. Really appreciate it.